Why do elite engineering teams silently let their companies crash? Tenerife, 1977. The deadliest aviation disaster in human history wasn't a mechanical failure. It was a systemic psychological collapse. A failure mode that perfectly mirrors modern tech companies. I have built and scaled a $2 billion tech company. I know this exact pattern. Today, we will reverse engineer the hidden mechanics of the Tenerife disaster to understand why. Why elite engineering teams silently watch their high-status founders push catastrophic code into production. Two massive Boeing 747s are trapped on a highly congested, fog-covered runway in Spain. Visibility is dropping rapidly. The immense pressure to take off mounts by the exact minute. Hundreds of passengers are waiting. The airline is losing money with every single delayed second. This low visibility, high stress environment perfectly mirrors a startup operating within a highly volatile market. You have limited runway, burning capital, and external conditions that obscure your immediate strategic vision. But the true mechanical failure point here was purely psychological, centered on one specific man. Captain Jacob van Zanten was the airline's chief training instructor, a literal 10x rock star pilot. He was the face of the airline, featured prominently in their glossy international magazine advertisements. He was a VIP whose historic, flawless success created an unchallengeable aura of absolute competence. Everyone in the company deferred to his judgment. He was the ultimate authority on flying. When leadership consistently operates on exceptionalism rather than process, the internal feedback loop completely severs. The rest of the crew begins to outsource their own critical thinking to the leader. We can see the cognitive trap clearly revealed inside the surviving vintage cockpit voice transcripts. The junior flight engineer sat right behind the captain, monitoring the vital radio communication channels. He realized they lacked the required air traffic control clearance to initiate the takeoff roll. He knew the danger. He saw the missing data, but he hesitated to speak up. The sheer gravity of Van Zanten's authority completely paralyzed the younger, less experienced flight engineer. He asked a tentative question, but the captain immediately dismissed his valid, data-driven operational concern. Questioning the top expert in the company felt riskier than ignoring core systemic safety protocols. He assumed the high-status leader simply knew something that he didn't. So he stayed silent. He chose social compliance over objective reality, trusting the rock star instead of the established system. The captain pushed the throttles forward, driving the massive aircraft directly into the dense fog. Another plane was still parked on that exact same runway, hidden entirely by the weather. That single moment of silence cost 583 lives in a fiery collision. It is a textbook cognitive authority bias, and it happens in boardrooms every single day. This exact dynamic destroys software architecture every single day across Silicon Valley and far beyond. A 10x founder or a celebrity CTO decides to aggressively bypass standard software deployment pipelines. They skip peer reviews. They mandate impossible deadlines based entirely on their own gut feeling. They push for a Friday evening deployment because they feel confident in their own code. Junior engineers will spot the fatal logic flaw in the architecture, but they remain silent. They see the memory leak. They know the database cannot handle the projected user load, but they rationalize that the genius founder must have a master plan they cannot comprehend. They think, who am I to question the person who built this entire company alone? So they approve the pull request. They merge the fatal code directly into the mainline. The psychological safety of the engineering team has been completely eroded by the founder's status. I have made this exact mistake in my own startup journey. I played the rock star. I pushed my team to launch a feature that wasn't ready, overriding their technical warnings. They stayed silent because I was the CEO. The resulting crash cost us critical clients. It was a painful lesson in systemic architecture. Authority must never override objective technical data. Let us look at the first diagnostic takeaway from the tragic ashes of the runway.
If your junior developers are psychologically hesitant to block a pull request from an executive, then your organizational architecture is mathematically guaranteed to experience a catastrophic and entirely preventable outage. It is not a question of if your system will fail, but exactly when today. A system that relies on the infallibility of one person is a fundamentally broken system. The aviation industry understood this. They knew they could not change human nature and ego. They eventually solved this psychological trap by inventing crew resource management, commonly known as CRM.
It is a hard systemic framework where operational veto power is ruthlessly decoupled from status. In a modern cockpit, the lowest-ranking officer has the absolute authority to halt any operation. If they see a safety violation, they must speak up, and the captain must listen. The hierarchy is temporarily flattened the moment objective data contradicts the senior leader's subjective decision. Tech companies must adopt this exact same architectural mindset to survive their own blind spots. We must build engineering cultures where the code wins, not the title of the coder. You have to explicitly reward the junior developer who finds a critical flaw in production, even if that flaw was written by the chief technology officer or the founding engineer. You must create a formal mechanism that makes challenging authority a mandatory part of work, because the fog of the market will eventually obscure your vision, just like in Tenerife. And when that happens, you need every single pair of eyes looking for the danger. You cannot afford to have your team paralyzed by the sheer weight of your reputation. Authority bias is a silent killer that infects the most elite and capable technical teams. It disguises itself as respect, but it functions as a critical single point of failure. The next time you are in a crucial meeting, pay close attention to the silence. Is your team quietly agreeing because you are right, or because you are the boss? If they never push back, you're already rolling down a foggy runway without clearance. You're flying blind, relying entirely on your own past success to predict future outcomes. That is the exact trap that killed the greatest pilot in the history of aviation. We must engineer our organizations to withstand the inevitable failures of our most brilliant leaders. The architecture of your team is far more important than the architecture of your software, because software can be rewritten, but a broken culture will systematically destroy the entire company. Implement the framework. Decouple the veto power from the hierarchical status of your senior executives. Make it safe to say no. Make it dangerous to blindly say yes to authority. This is the only way to build a resilient system that can survive the storm. The Tenerife principle is a permanent warning etched in the history of human systemic failure. Do not let your startup become another tragic case study in cognitive authority bias collapse. Does your team follow the protocol, or do they blindly follow the highest paid person? The answer to that question will determine the ultimate survival of your entire technological empire.